Welcome to She Says with your host, Stephanie Regalado. She Says guests share stories from their challenges to successes and, most importantly, the journey of womanhood woven alongside the collaboration of sisterhood. From self, love, friends and family, to hot topics, career, and world views, Stephanie and her guests discuss matters with utmost openness and honesty. So let's hear what she says. Here's Stephanie.
Hello and welcome to She Says. I'm your host, Stephanie Regalado. Happy to be back after a little break last week. I couldn't make it happen with a press trip to Leavenworth. Holy cow, it was glorious. I thought about going live with my mom. I took her on the trip with me, which would have been really phenomenal there. But I'm happy to have you with me.
Thank you.
My guest, please welcome Sandra Jarrard.
Yes.
And you are, what is your official title?
So my official title is Spokane Regional Field Director for the League of Education Voters.
Excellent. And you just handle that. So, and your zone is pretty large?
So we started off in Spokane about 3 years ago. The League of Education Voters found that if we truly want to be statewide, we should invest in major parts of our state. And so about 3 years ago, they brought me on board. And for the last 3 years, I've basically been getting to know the community, figuring out the who's who of the education world, and also I've also been able to partner with others, which has allowed us to expand our reach. I work with a lot of rural districts as well in Eastern Washington. So we're growing and really continuing to really want to build great relationships here so that we can move the dial on improving education in our region.
And how are you guys improving education across the state and in particular?
Well, across the state, so we have a lobbyist in Olympia that does a lot of our lobbying work, but we look to see what are the things that student needs. So everything we do is student-centered. It's about the student. What are some of the resources they need? Some of the work that we may be doing in the future will be related to a lot of the mental health pieces that we see. Mental health, also funding, but what are those extra types of funding that we could change so that students who need possibly more work in or more assistance in like reading or writing or math, that they're there for them. But I think what's a little bit different about our organization is that we really partner with our community, and so it's my job and my goal really to figure out what does Eastern Washington need for the region in terms of education. Obviously you always talk about east-west divide, but I found that my organization is really welcoming of everything that Eastern Washington has to offer and has to say. So I think that it's been a really good fit for Spokane to have us here.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you can talk to from Spokane, and if someone's based in Seattle but representing the entire state, they're going to fuss about that a bit, and as they should, because we have our own unique.
We have our own thoughts and opinions, and we're going to make them known. Exactly. And so that's really what my job is, willing to listen and to figure to build up those partnerships. So they're very important in hearing what they have to say and really just being the listener and then providing that information back to our office. And we also have other offices. So we gather all the research and all the data and all the quotes and everything that we need to change things. And then we provide them to our staff, and then we spend a couple of days really figuring out what are we going to do. And this year what we're starting is we're looking at everything through an equity lens. So how does that, how do any of the policies that we're putting forward hurt communities of color, special education students, any students who have not had the opportunity that some of us may have had when we were younger?
Is part of the job to also educate the voters?
Yes, so we do a lot of work. We're a nonpartisan organization. So all the research and data that we have is driven by data. So we have policy analysts who work in our Seattle office who do a lot of the great work, and we just provide information. We do also provide candidate forums when we have the important ones to do, like not State Board of Education, but the one for OSPI a couple of years ago, superintendent for that. We also did that, but mostly for us, it's giving out information. We don't really tell people how to vote. We have never done that. And so it's just, this is what.
And so you don't ever back candidates?
We do endorse candidates. Yes, we do endorse candidates. That's a process that our board goes through as well. What we do is we ask important questions related to education, and then we also interview the opponent as well, so that we're fair, and then we have our board members sit in on the interviews, and then they ultimately make the decision. It is not staff, it is our board. And our board is also statewide. We do have representatives on our board that are from the Pasco-Yakima area, as well as Spokane as well, so you're getting that statewide.
Yeah. How long have you been in Spokane?
I've been in Spokane for 14 years.
Oh, so this is home.
This is home to me. My husband went to Gonzaga University Law School.
Okay.
And we were going to move back right away after we were done back to the west side. And when we moved here, we fell in love with the city. We fell in love with the people. Yeah. And then you start working, have kids in school, and then I just got really involved with the community and fell in love with it.
And how you have kiddos? How many kiddos?
I have 3 kids.
3 kids.
2 in college and 1 in high
school. Oh my gosh. Okay. And I heard your kids actually didn't go through the public school system.
No, they did not. They went through the private school system. So one thing, before my husband and I got married, he promised me that we would send our kids to Catholic school. And so we went with it from there. But that is true. I work for a nonprofit that works in public education. But I think that whatever policies that we try and put forward, I always think about it as, well, it's not going to really affect my child, but I want to make sure whoever is going through this is able to meet the standards that we're trying to set and that kind of thing.
Exactly. And I was speaking, so you had a big breakfast this morning.
Yes.
And that was fabulous. That's how we met. Hello, and now you're in my podcast. That's how it.
I know, this morning.
That's how it happens in my life.
That's good. I love that you invited me. So thank you.
Well, I'm so honored to have you. I was so inspired. I haven't really been plugged in or sunk my teeth into the League of Education Voters.
Right.
It was one of those things that just flew in and out. But I was so moved and inspired this morning by the work that's being done across the state to make sure that all children have resources. And you focus primarily K through 12.
We also do work in post-secondary, and a few years ago, we did work on the Early Start Act, which was passed, and so we're a major player in that being passed due session.
Which is so important. I mean, if you're not going to start off well, and ensure that kids are being started off well, then that doesn't seem like it would be very intuitive, the whole plan. But your CEO is Chris Korsmo. Saw her and listened to her for the first time in my life today too, and absolutely fell in love with that woman. She's very serious, she's very passionate, and she has such fun flair.
She's funny.
To add into it.
I love her.
Which I just adored her right away, but she's definitely the right person to be leading this organization. Her passion, she spoke of having grown up without many resources, and not any of her family members having gone to a secondary education in her past, and that luck along her way got her into college and into her career path. But she doesn't want for children to have to rely on luck, because luck is fleeting. And it's amazing the need that there is present in our state and in our community.
It's like winning the golden ticket, if you're that lucky. I think if you look at a lot of our staff, we all have similar backgrounds. I also was very lucky. I had somebody from the University of Washington reach out to me and say, if you want to attend our school, let's go through this and let's fill out the application. And I was part of a program, Equal Opportunity Program, which allowed for me to have tutoring with our professors at the University of Washington, so that without that cohort that I went through, we took all the same math classes together, the same biology and chemistry. Had I not had that support system, I would have been out of luck, and it was because I wasn't ready for college. And so that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy working for Lev. A lot of the work that somebody did 20, 30 years ago for me to be successful in college is something that I want to do for those in our community, and it's the best job I've had. I've got to meet amazing students who it's kind of nice to talk to them, because you think that they just go to school and they have no worries in the world, but they say, wait a second, I want to be able to work on a project, and I want to be able to fail if I need to, but I want to learn how to go through that on my own. But I need your support. So,
absolutely.
Oh my gosh, amazing students we've met.
And I love the student panelist this morning. She said that there's a certain track of expectation, and sometimes she feels like kids are told what they can or cannot do, and that they just are kind of pushed through these motions of you'll go these steps, and then we set you out into the world. But they want to have their own experiences. They want to try new things. They want to test technology in ways that maybe adults wouldn't even think about testing it, because their brains haven't been raised on the technology like a lot of our youth are coming up. I watched this video. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's a man, and he has a whole bunch of different kinds of students, or different kinds of, they're young high schoolers, all different backgrounds, on a line. They're going to race for $100. And he said, if I told you you could win this $100, who would want to race? And they all raised their hand. He's like, okay, line up. And then he said, I'm going to ask you some questions, though, and each time, if your answer is yes to one of my questions, you take 2 steps forward. And they're like, have you seen that one?
I've been a part of some of those,
things?
Yes.
Oh, and it was my son, who's 18, had me watch it, and I'm such a wimp. I'm such a wimp. I was crying so hard by the end of it, but he said, if you grew up with 2 parents in the home, take 2 steps forward.
Right.
If you've never had to worry about your cell phone being turned off, take 2 steps forward.
Right.
If you've never had to miss a meal, 2 steps, or think about where your food was coming from, 2 steps forward. And it was...
It's when you do that in person with others, it's just amazing, because that's where you really learn about each other.
Yes.
Like some of the things, like, I never knew that happened to you. How sad. And
well,
then,
right.
So I think that's a great. Not exactly. They call it different things, but it's a really cool thing to do.
And then even the kids who were way up front, like more than halfway to the finish line, they looked around feeling a little sheepish about it. Because when you understand the visual, the truth, because it's kind of like when they say be happy. Happiness is a choice. Or don't use your childhood as an excuse. There's
a lot of barriers people have to go
through.
through.
People have no idea how set back the beginning starting line was or is for students and adults, depending on how their childhood went. So I think everyone should have to go.
I think so too, but I think it's also important to really have conversations with our students. Some of the students that I've worked with, hungry at night, can't come home at night. What are some of the other things? Immigration issues. So sending our students to school like that and knowing that they're there, I think the community is working towards helping everybody. So I think that's really important that we continue those efforts, because we want them to stay in our area. And so I've just been really blessed.
Well, and Jane Broom was the keynote speaker. She grew up in Spokane. She's now the lead director
for philanthropy
for Microsoft.
Yes.
Super snazzy
and she's
cool.
a Spokaneite.
So. She is, and it was really cool to hear her. But she said she made note that when she was growing up, and I can't remember, she did something at one point and like worked within schools.
Yes.
And to hear, I think maybe it was 4th graders, what 4th graders in one particular area of, in a particular school with higher socioeconomic backgrounds, one kid, she said something about bioengineering, chemical, whatever it was. It was really fancy. She'd never even heard of the term. That was his dream to be when he wanted to grow up. And then at other schools, there are kids who just haven't even been exposed to those as possibilities. So it's really cool to have an organization that's working so hard to ensure that all kids have as many resources at their fingertips as
I think
possible.
what's also neat too is the students in, like, say if you went to Rogers or LC or Innovation High School, I think they all really want to get together and talk to one another, because we've been really fortunate. We've partnered with other organizations as well, and I hope I don't get this wrong. It's the Alliance for Innovative Education Redesign, and so we did some great education dialogue stories where we invited students from across the city and mostly Spokane County, and they just said, we really want to reach out to other students who are not like us to have those conversations so that we get to know one another better, and it's really refreshing to see that, where students are willing to come together, accept differences, and still continue the conversation and want to work with one another at later projects. So it's been nice to see that in our area.
I love that. We have to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Tom Sawyer Country Coffee.
Tom Sawyer Country Coffee only roasts the finest organic coffee for our signature blends. Enjoy a cup at our coffee shop and local businesses and organizations across the region.
I'm Tom Sawyer, and we choose the Pacific Northwest.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
The economy is getting stronger. Banks are lending again, and interest rates are at historic lows. Now is a great time to buy your dream home. The caring and knowledgeable professionals at Homes for You have been helping people just like you for over 20 years. They take the time to listen to what you want and will help you find just the right home in Washington or Idaho. Real estate is what we do at Homes for You, 928-5782, or visit online at homes4uspokane.com.
Welcome back to She Says. Stephanie Regalado here. Sandra Jarrard with me from the League of Education Voters Foundation. You're the Spokane area
Regional Field Director.
Thank you. It's fancy when your title can be like 2 sentences long. What are some of the needs that are specific to Eastern Washington that you're discovering and reporting back on?
I think the needs are the same across the state, but I will tell you one thing that is unique to our area is that people are ready to have the conversation on how we can help students, and it's not only the students, but a lot of community organizations want to come together. I think we're ready to have those hard conversations in our area, and I think people are willing to. We started them a couple of years ago, and we asked the hard questions, like what are some of the things that you didn't like about education, and we found that with that, people still bring those bad feelings about some of the feelings they felt while they were in school. So we've kind of continued that, as I mentioned before, but I think we're unique because I think we're a big city, but we're still sort of a small community where we all kind of know one another, and we all want to show up and to support one another and support our students. So I think that's really unique to our area, not so much the West Side. I think it's because they're so big. Yeah,
and that's what Jane Broom from Microsoft said this morning. She's like, there's so much mobility and movement here. You're not just talking about ideas and
and I'm very fortunate and very lucky. I came to this position, a lot of that great educational infrastructure was already built. Our business community has already done a really good job. Some of our other nonprofits have also done a great job, and so has the public school system. So I was just lucky to figure out how can I help. I'm here to help, and just let me know what you need. So that's pretty much how it's been the last few years.
One of my favorite quotes that sticks out in my mind from your CEO, Chris, I just already forgot her last name.
Korsmo, no worries.
Korsmo.
Korsmo.
You guys have to look her up. She's fabulous. I'm sure she gives speeches and people can find.
I think so if you go to our website, you would be able to find her information. But she's a great speaker and she's funny and
she is so fun to listen to.
Entertaining.
And she's very entertaining. But she said that when adults care about students and truly care about students and their outcome, students know that.
Yes.
And when adults don't care,
they know that as well.
Students know that as well. It chokes me up. And sometimes it's hard. You become an adult and there's all these expectations and pressure and professions, and you're dealing with your own load, and it's hard to really take that step back and remember yourself growing up through the education system, maybe what you had desired or wanted to see differently. They also said today, I think it was Jane Broom in a presentation, that video she showed through Microsoft, that, or maybe she just shared it with us, that 63% of jobs that children entering primary education system today, that by the time they graduate, that like 63% of jobs don't even exist right now.
Exactly. They haven't been created. So
That's it. I said that in so many weird ways.
That's okay. They haven't been created. So how do we get our students ready for that? And I'm going to give a shout out to Innovation High School, Pride Prep Schools. I'm on their board. Probably that's why too. But they are doing so many innovative things there. And every time I go to a board meeting, it is just amazing. You should get a tour if you haven't been there. Students are working on the most amazing things. Some are working on drama projects. Others are building great projects. Some are putting workshops together. It's just amazing. But I think it's because we have to let students map out their own course on projects. Like,
Right.
I kind of go through the stumbling pieces that we all face when we're working in, in our careers.
Right.
So they've been able to do that. And I think that just opens the door to excitement. I know Spokane Valley High School also does that as well. I was part of a project last year where they put together a forum for high school students across the region. And they were doing graphic design, and when I was like editing some stuff for them, and I thought, oh my God, you're doing graphic design? I didn't do Excel until I was in college.
Exactly.
And so it's just that big change, and
Right.
and what they know and how they write. I'm just like, wow, what you're doing as a freshman, I probably did as a senior.
Right. Well, and what I've noticed throughout my life is that it seems like our brains are chiseled down or chiseled away at over time, but there's so much purity in the mind of a young person.
Oh, yes.
They don't see the boundaries because they haven't really experienced them, and they can experience them in different ways if they're allowed to.
Right.
That it's the whole thing, that failure's not just the end, it's just a
part of the process.
It's just part of the process,
solving
and
problems.
it's just an education, and you just move around it and continue going on. But that's one thing I've loved about North Central High School's science edition as well.
Dan Shea was supposed to be at our event.
Yes, I would have loved to hear from him and have their representation this morning, because they are doing such incredible work.
I went to their lab. It was
amazing. 2 of my kids graduated from North Central High School, so
that's lucky.
I've been to the lab. I've actually even seen that I saw first visiting where my dad worked at Washington State University, the animals in the formaldehyde jars.
Oh, yes, yes.
I saw that in North Central, one of
wow.
North Central High School's lab rooms, but they are working on with
the genomic pieces.
Yes, you know more about this than I do.
Well, I was just there.
Oh, good.
Last week, that's probably why. No, a couple weeks ago. And, oh my gosh, their lab is amazing. They have like 100 microscopes, which when I was in college, we shared one for like 5 students. Because it was, and they do gel electrophoresis, and they do their work, and there were students there already, and I was there at 7, and there were students already working on their projects. And it's that that experience of feeling this is what I'm learning, and this is what it looks like and feels like, so I want to do that. And I was just impressed. I was like, oh my gosh, and the building is brand new and beautiful.
It's very shiny.
So Spokane Public Schools has done a great job in putting that together. I was inspired when I left there, and now they're trying to figure out how to work with rural districts so some of those rural students can have access as well.
Oh, excellent. I love that. How can people become involved with your organization?
They can definitely email me at sandra@educationvoters.org or go on to our website, educationvoters.org. Feel free to email me, and I will be more than happy to connect.
What are some ways that people do become involved and support the organization?
So far it's been, we're at a meeting and we say, that would be a really cool project to do together, and we hang out, and that's how it grows. But I'm willing to meet with anybody who would like to become involved, but it's usually most of the committee work that I've done has allowed for me to have a lot of those partnerships, and I've known a lot of people from my previous job before, so that's been really helpful too.
Well, and there is also an opportunity to donate to the organization.
Yes.
And how are those funds put into Feet on the Ground?
A lot of the work that we do, like a lot of the contributions we have, go to fund my work, or also go to fund, say, sending students to Olympia, allowing us to partner and possibly pay for, like, say, the food for an event that we're having, that we partner with others. So it's really a good way to help our organization pay for pieces of work that we all do across the state. So we are really careful with money all the time. We're a nonprofit, so we all have to watch what we spend our money on.
It's so important. So for anyone watching this program, what should their why be to visit your website?
It would be to, if you want to know really great data, really great information, go to our website.
The nonpartisan aspect is really important.
Yes, nonpartisan. We're nonpartisan. We look at the data. We really take a deep dive into the numbers that nobody really wants to look at, quite honestly, because there's so much data out there. But we really pay close attention to community feedback. That's another piece, too. We are really honest about what our community says, and then take that and really try and work on policies that help the entire state. So we do a lot of that work as well, but should go to our website because there's a lot of great stories about a lot of the great education that occurs across the state. And we have Education Advocates of the Month, and some of them are from Spokane. So you get to read about some of our own community members doing really great jobs. So I'm always about spotlighting Eastern Washington and Spokane because we do a lot of great work here. So you'll find a lot of those pieces. But we have great, we call them Levinars. They're really webinars, but Levinars because of Lev. And it is, we have great panelists on there. We've had Rob McKenna before kind of talk about McCleary funding. We've had Chris Rickdahl. We've had a lot of great, we have had state representatives as well provide information on that type of thing too. So it's really great fact-based information.
And if you had every resource you could potentially need to do the next big thing, what would that be? What kind of dream would you have for the organization and education in Washington State?
My dream I really love community forums. So I keep talking about
farms?
The community forums.
Oh, forums, okay.
Yes, where we bring students together and continue to build that and continue to involve more and more people to to just come up with solutions in our region.
Yeah.
And I think the nice thing about those is that people are able to network and they're able to work on their own on other things separately. So I love the idea of bringing community together so that we can solve problems.
Well, and you had so many great people this morning. You had Wendell Ford, you had the Numerica team, you have, I just lost everyone else. But
Connect Link is one as well. And then we also had representatives from Whitworth and Gonzaga University.
Yes.
Over the last year, I've spent we built a Spokane Advisory Council, and these are the experts in the field that are able to provide us a lot of information, and they were there as well. And quite honestly, I couldn't do the work I do without our Advisory Council and our board members because they really do a lot to help me and my work and Lev as well.
Well, and I love that you guys are working with people that are just really working hard in the community within their own businesses and for the community. And I do love the idea of the forums, and I'm going to keep track of the next one because I'd love to.
You should. We will be having them sometime next year. We've had quite a few, but they're kind of grassroots, to be honest. It started organically, and then out of a small group, more and more people wanted to be a part of it.
I love it. And when you combine all those people in the community with those youthful minds, and it's amazing what can happen. So
people are definitely excited to make change.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be a part of that.
Thank you so much for joining us here today and for your work. And I look forward to now really having a solidified understanding of what the League of Voters Education Foundation.
League of Education Voters Foundation.
What did I say?
It's a long word.
It is
long.
Okay, so I have some work to do, but I'm going to work harder to really solidify it and continue to send that message because there's so many people in our community who really have the heart for kids in the future and making us a better place.
And we have to do as much as we can to improve outcomes for everyone in our state.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here today, and I'll see you next week.
She Says is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content.